children. Now, let's just hop across onto the subject of climate change and CO2, but I just have to bring in a reference again to Sophie Istou, who's the freelance journalist who was involved in that massive BBC piece on transgender in the US military, because what I discovered is that she'd also done this Sounds audio interview, which is about the production of CO2 and the worsening of climate change as a result of war. So nothing from the BBC over the millions of dead and wounded in Ukraine. They're just worried about how much CO2 has been produced from the explosions. Quite sickening, Ben, but take us away with a deeper look into matters climate change.
Absolutely. It's unsurprising, but certainly sickening. So we're going to have a little look at the climate gravy train, and we're going to focus on London and the last weeks of June, actually, because London Climate Action Week touched down. And as you can see here, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals arrayed there in the centre, telling us what this is really all about, right? So this is the UN, the World Economic Forum, the global public-private partnership, the partnership between money and power, what is driving the climate agenda. And this was overseen by this gentleman, Mete Choban, MBE, Deputy Mayor of London for Environment and Energy, who was saying, "I'm incredibly proud to have overseen the biggest ever London Climate Action Week with over 700 events over the week and 45,000 people engaged." Right, that is absolutely astonishing. And regular viewers will be familiar with Choban because we first came across him just over 2 years ago now, as he was the co-host of this event with Tony Blair and his institute, talking about the future of Britain, where Tony Blair and Choban as co-hosts. I mean, it's a remarkable accolade for a young man in his early 30s to be put up there alongside Tony Blair, basically laid out their vision for the future of the country. And Keir Starmer, then leader of the opposition, basically turned up at the end of the day and said, "Yes, I agree with what Tony said." So that tells you a lot about where the agenda's coming from. And then we uncovered My Life, My Say, the youth charity, which is being used to radicalise the nation's young people, to align them with the global technocratic agenda, to manufacture consent to all of these changes that are happening across our society and our economic and our political systems, that was essentially teed up by the US State Department, MI6, NCS. You got David Cameron sitting there in the background of the National Citizens Service, UK Youth, which is overseen by Princess Anne, two branches of the Rothschild family, Tortoise Media, Mete Choban, sitting there in the middle of all of this, now overseeing the Showpiece London event for climate change. If that doesn't explain to you what's really going on here, then I don't know what will, to be honest with you.
We'll keep pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to look what's going on, everybody. And where best for us to go to get some insight into the shiny, happy people of the climate agenda than to Gold's House at Freud's Communications. Let's have a little look at what happened on the day.
Top of mind for me at London Climate Action Week is speed and scale. We've got 750 events with thousands and thousands of people here, all with their sleeves rolled up, ready to work, looking for solutions. So much innovation. I'm hopeful because we've got all the component pieces, we've just got to put them together differently.
Real climate leadership, for me, looks like ensuring we deliver what we actually committed to do. So we go from promises to practices, and all of us playing our role in this, we can get there.
We need to hurry up. A sense of urgency, I think, is really, really important. We have the solutions to a really great way of life. Actually, a lot of the things that tackle climate change are the things that give us better lives.
I think there is a desire among people that I know for new ideas and new solutions and new imaginings of what could be.
Welcome to Freud, and it's great to be here. And it's so important that we're meeting this week, finding the solutions to the biggest challenge facing our planet.
So lots of food and music and good times in order for them to help people who are not experiencing the food and the music and the good times.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. New imaginings of what could be. I mean, and this is all narrative, right? Really crucially, we talked about the BBC a moment ago. This is what they called their event. This is about rewriting the climate story. This is all story. It's not based on anything. It's just made up. And we don't have time to go through all the people that we saw in the video, but this lady jumped out at me. This is Tangam Debonair, who is a baroness, sits in the House of Lords, and she was very keen for us to just hurry up because the good life lives at the end of all of these climate innovations, apparently. And this roots us right into the seat of power in the UK. She actually is the chair, I believe, of the Labour Women's Network. And you can see here, sisters, what a team. This is the brilliant executive committee. You can actually see she's wearing the same dress, so maybe this was actually on the same day.
Saving CO2.
Well, it could be that too. Who knows? And actually, the ladies bit is really important, right? Because this is being driven primarily by women, right? It really is. And we can see a few more examples here. So this is from the Imagine Leaders Network, who I spoke about last year. I can provide some links. You can see we've been talking about this for over 12 months now. We can see there's Pat Mitchell, who is on the right-hand side in the yellow, who is the founder of the Connected Women Leaders Network that we spoke about earlier on this year, and one of the co-founders of Project Dandelion. So you can see the dandelion there on a little natty yellow jacket. Imagine is run by this lady. This is Valerie Keller, who is also a young global leader of the World Economic Forum. And they love wearing these jaunty little hats and feathers, the Imagine crew. This is the sort of their little thing that they do, you know, so sort of climate meets high fashion.
Yes.
You know, and this is the kind of absurd world that these people live in. And Imagine is overseen by Paul Polman, you can see him bottom left, who is, amongst many other things, a trustee of the Rockefeller Foundation. Right, so these are the self-proclaimed global elite, the well-heeled, gilded special ones who float around in the stratosphere making decisions that are going to transform the lives of everyone else on Earth while getting paid enormous amounts of money to do it. Right, crazy. Also, we had, importantly, ISWE, and there we saw Rachel Kite, who's the UN Special Representative on Climate Change. She was also in that Goals House video. Mary Robinson, who's chair of the elders, also founder of the Dandelions, wearing her dandelion. She was at the ISWE thing. This was all paid for by the Wellcome Collection, by the way. So a lot of the money flowing into this is from charitable foundations, philanthropic wealth. Sandrine Dixon de Clèves from the Club of Rome was there. Again, really reinforcing the point. Let's have a look at that badge that she's got on. Boom. Women are leading the new climate revolution.
Wow.
Right? They're telling you women are leading the new climate revolution. And this is why increasingly we're not allowed to criticize women. If you criticize these people, then you're a misogynist. It's hateful. And that's how they're shutting down debate around these unbelievably important issues as it relates to the future of the whole of humanity, right? And Dandelions in particular talk about the fact that they want to make every issue a climate issue and they want to turn every woman on Earth into a climate activist. Yeah, they're not messing around here. Importantly, ISWE, as I said, are involved. Why is that important? A couple of reasons. First one is that they run these participatory processes. So again, as we talked about in the NHS segment, this is about manufacturing consent to preconceived outcomes. They're running this global assembly for COP and ultimately as an extension of that, the UN, but they're also active on the ground in the UK, most notably through a partnership with this organisation called Community Organisers, which I'll provide some links. You can go and have a look at a recent session that they held together, talking about local democracy in the UK. And the community organisers were first written about on the UK column back in 2013, and it was started as a 4-year national training programme in 2011, designed and run by locality, who are directly linked to Common Purpose, and funded by the Cabinet Office, who are all trained by Common Purpose under David Cameron, which takes us back into the early days of the column. So this is running on the rails of a political transformation that has been put in place 10, 15, nearly 20 years ago.
And Regenerate, I saw, was part of that as well.
Yes, they were. Yes,
major organisation. Right, we must end our news now. We never have enough time to get into all of the detail of these things, but we are desperately trying to get people to focus on the drivers of what's happening, the dangers of change in UK, and we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's just end on a bit of black humour. Diane, over to you.
Everyone should be really, really afraid because there's a new Frankenstein variant of COVID that's circulating around the country. It's also known as XVG or Stratus or NB181, depending on who you ask. But apparently, according to a dermatologist who owns a skin clinic, it's a descendant of the JN1 Omicron subvariant and carries several mutations in its spike protein, enhancing its ability to bind to human receptors and potentially evade immunity from previous infections or vaccinations. And it says it's highly contagious. However, it also says, according to one article, many people may not realize that they even have COVID. But for those displaying symptoms, you might actually get a sore throat. So be careful, Brian and Ben. You might get a sore throat. You might get a Frankenstein virus. And
be
then
afraid.
I don't know what happens.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. Or maybe not. We must end there. Ben, thank you very much for joining me. Diane, thank you. For all our members of UK Column, we'll be back for UK Column Extra in just a few minutes. For the rest of the viewers, wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for joining us. Join us again for the news on Wednesday. We'll be back then at 1 o'clock. See you then. Bye-bye.